Syria, Sean. There's so many implications of this for Trump and for Biden and for Israel and for Iran and Russia. Just give me your sort of top line thoughts about where this story is headed.
I think there's two narratives. There's the international narrative. What happens to, who fills the leadership role in Syria? What happens to the nuclear weapons? Obviously, this is it's good that Assad is gone, but it's also scary about who controls the country, the weapons, et cetera. So you've got the international piece of this. Then I think there's the domestic piece, which is how the heck, I mean,
you don't mean nuclear, you mean chemical, biological.
Correct, right. I mean, that they've got a lot of dangerous weapons that Assad has used. And so my concern is who gets control of those. And also, I mean, just frankly, then beyond that immediate threat, where do they fit in? Both, I mean, there's a whole implications of it with Russia and Iran and in terms of who they end up aligning with or not. So you've got the international piece. Put that aside from now. Then you've got the domestic piece. The stories that came out. I'm just trying to go through the head here. Was it Saturday, where they were saying that Biden's team was caught flat-footed on this whole deal, and there's a question about after South Korea and what happened there, whether or not we are fully in the loop as far as what's going on overseas, what implications that has for the intel community, et cetera. So I think you can go in either thread on this issue.
Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's three things. One, who funded this? I can't imagine this was a ragtag group that had passing a hat around locally. Somebody in that region, and I think you could take a guess, perhaps the Saudis and maybe with the Israelis, did this because this is the biggest setback for Iran in 50 years. It's the first time they've really been humiliated and they are on a back foot. So one, who funded this? I think two, for Sean, I mean, you can talk about both how did we not know about it? But the bigger issue now is anytime you have a vacuum in that region of the world, what comes after it could be really bad for us. If it is a hotbed of terrorism or instability, it is amazing how historically we and the rest of the world get sucked into this. So I think, where this goes from here, we do have a stake. Obviously, we're not going to send ground troops or we don't really want to be involved, but I don't see how we don't get involved to some level because this is dangerous for us potentially.
Dan, I think that your point about who funded this, I've always thought to myself, if you're going to take down a dictator, you better be wrong. I mean, it's that, what's that old saying? If you're going to shoot at the king, you better kill him. Yeah. I think to myself, how do you pull something like this off? I mean, it really goes to question, what kind of people and
who has an interest.
Yeah, but I mean, I just can't believe that this happened, and not just who funded it, but that it all happened without Assad finding out.
I'm interested to know what Assad is doing in Russia and what his life's going to be like there, and whether he's at all a player in any way. Two, I'm interested in what happens in Iran. We've all been hoping for a regime change there. We're not in the government, so we can say that. And whether that somehow fosters that. And then whenever Turkey and the Kurds are involved, it's just always special issues. And I'd be curious to see how Turkey feels about whether Turkey uses the opportunity to try to do harm to the Kurds, which always it makes the United States or puts the United States in a difficult position.